Hi, my name is Imogen. I'm one of the education mental health practitioners at Me and My Mind, the mental health support team, and we work across schools in East Sussex. So we work with children and young people from the ages of 7 through 17 who may be experiencing low to moderate mental health difficulties. So that can include sleep, healthy eating, anxiety, low mood, low self-esteem. So this video, we're going to focus on sleep, and particularly sleep during lockdown, as a lot of people are reporting poor sleep. So we're going to have a think about sort of like what sleep is, even though that seems really obvious, the importance of sleep, what might stop us from getting good sleep, and how it can impact us and how to promote good sleep. So in a nutshell, sleep is a crucial part of everyone's health and well-being. So sleep really enables our body and mind to repair and recharge itself and be ready for that next day. So getting enough sleep and rest can regularly promote good health physically and mentally. So when we don't get enough sleep, we become maybe a bit run down, more susceptible to getting a bit poorly, and our brains can't function as well as we might want them to. So for example, we might find it really hard to concentrate. So you guys might be finding that if after a poor night's sleep or regularly not getting good sleep, find it hard to concentrate, maybe on some of your online sessions at the moment. So essentially, better sleep equals better mind and health. But sometimes it can be really difficult to get a good night's sleep, and lots of things can get in the way of us being able to get that good night's sleep that we need. So sleep can be broken into 4 stages. So stage 1 is where we transition from wakefulness into sleep, and this normally lasts for around 5 to 10 minutes. And if you wake someone and they might say, I wasn't really asleep, it's likely they were in that stage of sleep. So that's stage where you're sort of dozing off, but you're sort of aware of what's going on around you. So stage 2 is where our body temperature drops and our heart rate slows down as well. And this lasts for around 20 minutes. And then stage 3, our muscles relax, blood pressure and breathing rate drops, so we really slow down. And this is where we get our deepest sleep. And in this stage, we become less responsive to noises and movement around us. And then stage 4 is the rapid eye movement sleep, so REM sleep. You might have heard that term before. So this is where our brains become active and our bodies become super relaxed, so almost sort of immobile, so we don't make much movement. And this is the stage where we have dreams. Well, we tend to have dreams in this stage, and our eyes move rapidly, hence rapid eye movement sleep. So studies into sleep advise that adults need around 7 to 9 hours of sleep to recharge and feel good the next day. But actually teenagers, so you guys, you need more sleep to enable growth and development. So you guys need between like 8 to 10 hours. That's what's recommended for teenagers. So that's a bit about, the importance and the role sleep plays for us, and more of those the sciencey bit behind sleep. So what might stop us from getting good sleep, and how does that impact us? So lots of things can impact our sleep. So I'm going to talk through some of those, not all of them. So we might get kept up by our thoughts. So have you ever been in bed and you start thinking about different things? Maybe you're thinking about things that you feel like didn't go well that day, things that you don't feel like maybe that you're feeling worried about, maybe the current situation, maybe you're thinking about COVID, or maybe replaying maybe an embarrassing moment. I know I've definitely done that and do it sometimes. And it's really normal for this to happen. So thoughts can be hard to stop sometimes, especially when we get into bed and we're not focused on something like a game, a piece of homework, or chatting to friends. We're generally, less distracted and just with ourselves. So that might stop us from getting a good night's sleep. Everyone as well, of all ages, who experience periods of stress, anxiety, low mood, can find it more difficult to fall asleep. So when sleep is affected by mood, our sleep tends to be quite light. and it includes more of that REM sleep, so that rapid eye movement sleep. So it's less deep sleep. And research and studies into sleep suggest that this could be because our bodies we're programmed to react to stressful and potentially dangerous situations by being more alert, so we can respond to them and protect ourselves. So when we're going through those periods, that can create that response. So when we're feeling low, when we're feeling anxious and stressed, it can create that response in us, and that makes sleeping more difficult. Routine as well. So this probably maybe could be the biggest impact at the moment during COVID. So routine is really important when it comes to having good sleep. So our bodies have this internal clock called circadian rhythm. So this our internal body clock is responsible for our sleep to wake cycle. It relies on our daily routine as a prompt, as well as environmental cues such as light to help us know when to sleep and when to wake. So when the sun goes down, our bodies tend to know that we're probably going to be going to bed sometime soon. And then as well, when it rises and we get that natural daylight exposure, we know that we're going to be waking. So when our circadian rhythm, so when our internal clock is working properly, it can help us have regular sleep, which in turn helps our mental health. So with all the new changes this pandemic has brought us, like social distancing, social closures, school closures, quarantining, it's had huge effects on our normal routine, and this can be a really difficult adjustment for lots of people. So whilst you find the new routine that works for you as well, that can be a difficult period. It's a lot of change still. So, and keeping track of the day can be hard without those signals. So we used to have those signals like getting up, getting ready for school, those break and lunch times, end of school, maybe those like regular social times that you had outside of school. Maybe you played a sport or would regularly hang out with your friends that you share a hobby with. So now we're not having to get up to go out. It can be really tempting as well to sleep in longer than you normally would have. So sleeping more than 7 to 8 hours or 8 to 10 hours can make it more difficult to get up in the mornings, and you might be feeling less energetic, motivated, unfocused maybe during the day. You might be sleeping and not having natural daylight coming through to your room as well. So without that important daylight exposure, our brains tend to think maybe it's still nighttime and don't move into sort of that wake cycle, making it harder to get up and feel ready for the day. Additionally, you might go to sleep a lot later or wake lots during the night as well. So thinking about light as well, so exposure to blue light during the evenings and nights can keep us awake and stop us from sleeping or sleeping deeply. So many people, I mean myself included, I'll put my hand up and admit it, I reach for my phone or some sort of tech sometimes before bed, and most of our smart tech emits something called blue light. You might have heard of it before. Lots of blue light glasses coming out at the moment. Blue light is made up of something called electromagnetic radiation. And put simply, that's an invisible form of energy, and our eyes interpret it. So our eyes interpret colour based on the amount of energy it lets off. So for example, the sun lets off white light, so that's the full spectrum of colour. And blue light's just a portion of that. But studies show that it can have quite a significant effect on our sleep cycle when we're exposed to it. So most of our exposure to blue light is from the sun. So when we look at smartphones and other tech, it mimics the sun for our brains, making us more alert because our brains are interpreting it to be the sun, to be daylight. So our brains are thinking, okay, it's daytime. We're gonna get up. We're gonna do stuff now. So if we're exposing ourselves to blue light during evenings and nights, our brains are pretty much tricked into thinking it's daytime and then it's time for sleep. So that can interrupt our internal clock and it throws us off balance a bit, and it might make it harder for you to get to sleep. As well, we've all gone through huge changes this past year, having to adjust to this new way of life for the moment. And you're all currently doing schoolwork from home. And that can be really difficult, especially when you might be sharing home as a workspace with parents, carers, siblings, other people that you might live with, and it can be difficult to find your own space where you feel like you can focus and you can work. And I guess for a lot of you guys at the moment, that best place might be your bedroom. And working through your bedroom, you know, it can be really tempting to want to maybe do online school from bed. And I totally get it. It's warm, it's cozy, you can be comfortable, but there is a bit of a downside to working from bed during this time. So like we were just discussed, our bodies thrive on having routine, and having those daily cues and signals for our internal clock, like getting up and getting ready. It allows us time to wake and feel ready and prepared. So by remaining in bed, it signals to our internal clock that it's time to sleep, and we might feel a bit tired and lack energy because we might be in bed, so our brain's going, it's time to sleep now. So then we start to feel like less energetic, because our brains are pretty smart. It makes lots of links and associations for us without us sort of realizing it. So when we spend time on our beds, when we're not sleeping, our brain associates bed with a number of activities we might be doing. So it might be like watching films, surfing the internet, doing online school, chatting to friends. So that when we do eventually come to bed, our brains don't quite recognize what it is we're going to be doing. So we might be getting into bed, and then our brain starts thinking, okay, what are we going to be doing? We might be watching a film, might be doing some online work. So that bed to sleep connection it once had is a bit confused. As well, I'm sure you guys have probably heard this one before as well, but what we eat and drink can impact our sleep as well. So if we eat or drink late, it can really wake our bodies up, especially things like caffeine and sugary things like, again, I'm sure you've all heard it, but energy drinks, that can really wake us up. So avoiding heavy meals and foods at bedtime. So how can I promote good sleep? So what can you do to improve your sleep? So one of the things that might be helpful, if you feel like, lockdown's really affected your sleep and it's making it hard, you could try keeping a diary and jot down the details of your sleep routine. So making note of what you do, the times that you do it. So maybe what you do before bed, maybe an hour or so before bed. What's your routine before bed? When do you get into bed? What do you do when you're in bed? What time do you get up? How many hours sleep do you have? Did you wake during the night? What did you do when you woke during the night? So keeping a diary of that over a few days or a week. And then once you've done that, have a look back at it. See if anything that we've discussed in this video, if any of that's coming up for you. So it might help you to identify certain things which might be stopping you from getting good sleep. And so after you've done that for a few days, try out making some small changes to your sleep routine and keep a note of it again, and see if you notice any impact that it's having, positive or negative. And it might take some tweaking until you get sort of, the right combination for you. And you might want to maybe set out a little checklist. You might want to keep things on there, like trying to set a consistent and regular time to sleep and get up. So forming that sort of routine again, building that back into your daily routine. And as well, if you're trying to go to sleep and get up at the same time, try and avoid naps as best as you can, because what naps do is we catch up on that sleep we missed out on, but then when we get to bed, we don't feel as tired as we probably should, so that it makes it harder to sleep. As well, you could create a pre-sleep routine, so that before bedtime routine. So maybe you could read a book, so those activities that are a bit sort of less energetic, quite calmer. Or you could do like some nice face care. So do a bit of self-care. Maybe have a nice face care routine where you moisturize and stuff. And then avoid caffeine, sugar, those heavy meals before bed, and have a look at the environment that you're sleeping as well. Try and create a good sleep environment. So you would maybe want to limit the light, but not so much that maybe your room's like completely dark, so you get some of that natural light in the morning to help you wake up. But you know, blocking out enough light that you're not being woken up by the light. And again, that's that's a balance to get. And also try and have a constant and consistent temperature in your room, a comfortable temperature for you, but so that like during the night you're not too hot, too cold, and going in between. Doing some exercise as well before, a few hours before bed, can be really helpful. And that doesn't have to be anything super intensive. That can be like a walk outside for half an hour. Maybe you could have a look at maybe like a yoga video on YouTube, pull that up and do that in your bedroom. Maybe you've got some people that you live with that would like to try it out with you. As well, if you notice a lot of thoughts tend to interrupt your sleep, try writing them down like on a piece of paper and just pop them like on your bedside table, or write them in a journal or something, and dedicate some time the next day for yourself to go back through them, read them. And you know, you may get to the next day, read them and think, oh, actually, yeah, this isn't too much of a worry, I don't really need to think about this anymore. Just so that when maybe those thoughts come to you, you can write them down, put them aside, and then try redirecting your thoughts and think about maybe something that happened that day that was good, or a happy memory, just to redirect your thoughts elsewhere. And if you can, try and keep bed for sleep. So that might be really difficult, but if you can set up a workspace, even if it is in your room still, it's just elsewhere in your room, not on your bed. And if you wake or you can't sleep after about 20 to 30 minutes, try getting up and walk into another room. And then after 15 minutes, go back and try and see if you can sleep again. Because hopefully this will help your brain to realise that bed is for sleep. It's not for, you know, doing any activity in. It's also not for laying there during the night and just thinking about stuff, so that you can build that and build on that bed to sleep connection. And really, you know, practice makes perfect. You might have to tweak it a little bit, and sleep, you know, unfortunately it won't change overnight if you've been struggling with sleep recently. But hopefully, sort of going through this information with you today sort of highlights maybe some areas for you that could be beneficial. And as well, don't be too hard on yourselves. It's, you know, we're going through a really strange time, and it's really hard and difficult, and you guys have had to go through massive change. So you're doing great, and hopefully there's something that you can take away from this video. Okay, bye.